Hey guys, just want to thank you guys for watching If You Can't Handle the Heat presented by IYCHTH System. I just want to let you guys know about our new collaboration this month, the month of the NCAA tournament, allvolleyball.com. They're the #1 volleyball retailer, and they have been around for 27 years, which if you're counting is longer than me, Joe, and Micah. Excuse my language, but allvolleyball.com has given a shit about the sport and the community long before it was thought to be cool. And when you shop with All Volleyball, they take a portion of each dollar and put it right back into the sport. I mean, they got it all. Shoes, essentials, and entire uniform packages. Oos! For 20% off to use on their entire store. Again, 20% off on all of allvolleyball.com. Hit the link in the bio. Again, OOS for 20% off. Enjoy the episode, guys.
Yeah, you can handle the heat. Yeah, you can handle the heat. Yeah, out of system, you can handle the heat.
Booyaka Show, welcome back to another episode presented by IYCHTH System. It's your boy G Swiss to my left, my brother Jokesy. How we doing?
What's up, everybody?
Now, recently the NCAA tournament just ended, and of course we had to bring one of the GOATs of the MVP tournament, the All-American, All-Pac-12, recent Oregon alumni. She gives hope to all liberos that dream of playing in the front row one day. The Brooke Nuneviller. Brooke, thank you so much for hopping on the pod.
Wow, what an intro. Thanks for having me.
Hey, from libero to libero, let me tell you right now that, like I said, that comes from the heart, because I truly mean that, because, like I said, a lot of stuff goes on front row. Liberos have dreams. A lot of people listening right now probably have dreams playing the front row, and you give them hope, so we just want to give a quick shout-out with that.
Awesome.
Let's get into it here. Well, congratulations on a great season and a great career at Oregon.
Thank you.
You're currently, you said you're back home in Arizona
Yes.
now. So what now? So what's the plan now after you graduated, and what's happening?
Yeah, so I just packed all my stuff up. I fit all of my entire life into my Prius and drove down to Arizona. And now I am just waiting for a couple contracts. We're looking to go pro soon within the next month, but nothing official yet. We're probably going to make a decision, though, within the next couple days.
That's exciting. That's so
Yeah.
are you going as libero or outside?
Outside. There's really nothing as libero. So we're going outside till we can, so we can't anymore. We're just full commit.
That's what I like to hear, because it's brutal for liberos. I get what you mean by that. So libero outside is a smart move. So with that being said, do you plan on doing USA libero or outside, or what's the plan with that?
I have been in the USA pipeline for a long time, and I've always been a libero through that, at least at the highest level for like the national teams, the junior and youth, collegiate. It's always been libero. I trained with the national team last summer, again as a libero, but I had a conversation with Karch, and he said not to limit myself right now. So we'll see how we do as an outside overseas. Right now I'm looking at leagues in Italy and Turkey. So if I can potentially be successful there, maybe I'll change his mind, but it's been libero in the past.
That's awesome.
How does that transition work? Because on the men's side, everything's so late. Like when you look at the leagues and everything, like the U.S. is at a major disadvantage. We always talk about that. But on the women's side, for you guys, you're coming in the middle of season. For those who don't know, the professional season, it's like right in the middle of most professional seasons right now. And so teams are looking if they had injuries or if they had they want to replace a player, whatever reason they might have. That's where a lot of the NCAA athletes come out, and they're jumping onto those teams for the remainder of season into playoffs. So for you, I know how it is on the men's side, but were there agents present at the NCAA tournament watching you guys, where they're like, as soon as like teams were done, they were speaking to you immediately after, or were they sending you messages via email? Like, how did that work for you in terms of getting to find an agency and then now kind of in the process of finding a team?
Yeah, I can answer that a couple ways, because it's been interesting too with the COVID extra year of eligibility. So a lot of agents didn't know if I was going to be taking my 5th year last year. So even at the NCAA tournament, the All-American banquet, like their agents all around, like giving everyone their card, because you don't know if you're going to stay for that extra year of eligibility. So ever since the end of last year, I've had agents emailing me or DMing me. But the last couple of months of season, I started to get more serious, and who I was talking to, who I wanted to have conversations with. And then I ended up choosing Stefano Bartocci. He's an Italian agent, and he has been awesome. But he actually came and watched my regional match against Louisville, and Nebraska. So that was fun and just super supportive. So that was kind of my process. But I kind of also like how we're halfway through the professional season, because when you're coming out of college, you get to go overseas and it's a 4-month season instead of that full 8 that you're kind of dipping your toes in. So I'm excited. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In both the countries, those leagues that you're going to, looking at, are really high level leagues and in pretty cool places. Also, those places aren't too bad. But in terms of your like transition, for position, with this year, what were some of the most difficult things and what were some of the easier things? Obviously, going from libero to an attacker, both like physically and also just like day to day in terms of like preparation and everything.
So I have been just making that transition and switching between positions since I was, I don't know, 15, 14 years old. And so it's just had to be really fast adjustments. I would say the hardest time for that transition was from my freshman to sophomore year of college, just because I had never just played libero for a long period of time. So my freshman year of college, for people who don't know, I was a libero at Oregon, and I had a year off of jumping. I would never train outside in practices, but then I had to make that transition my sophomore year. I had to start taking some jumps. My vert definitely went down a little bit. So just getting that physicality back, getting that vertical back up, getting stronger in the weight room. You know, I'm an undersized outside hitter, so got to get the vertical higher, got to hit hard, good ball control.
So when I was younger, I kind of had to make that same transition, going from libero, and all of a sudden, okay, you're the not just a hitter, you were the hitter, right? So the team relies basically on you, in terms of offensively, energy wise. Was there any, for me, the biggest transition that I struggled with that I had to get used to? Obviously, kind of the rhythm and the flow of playing outside hitter at the higher level now, right? Did it ever get frustrating? For me, it got like so frustrating because I frustrated myself because like I gotta do this, but then it's like sometimes it's like you said, in all due respect, your freshman and sophomore year, your your team wasn't as good as your freshman year, right? A lot of your guys graduated. So for me, I was frustrated with myself, I get frustrated with my team, and I had to kind of learn how to like kind of keep it within and kind of channel it through my team and try and make them better. At the same time, I'm trying to figure my stuff out at the same time. Was that kind of situation with you?
Yeah, I look back at my. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I looked back at my sophomore year, and I definitely had a different mentality than the last couple of years. I was definitely taking on more of a ball control role as an outside hitter. I was responsible for getting threes, and we had a couple of terminal attackers too my sophomore year. But then once I got more physical and we started to lose more attackers, and I started to become the vet on the teams, I had to take on a bigger role. So yes, it's definitely frustrating making the transition. I could also give the example of training in the national team gym in the summer as a libero, and I played outside for basically all of my college career, and going at a very, very much higher speed and playing left back defense and making just those little nuances there. You don't realize how many there are until you're really making that transition. So yes, it's definitely frustrating, but you kind of have to give yourself some grace in those situations and maybe just train it a little bit harder before you really, really get frustrated at yourself.
I still remember my first tournament where I had to play outside hitter. I'm telling you right now, from libero to outside hitter, you are just gassed. The difference between even practicing and even just playing in games, like, was that just like, you're just like, oh my God, like, how was that?
Yeah, you have to transition a lot. I think that's where it gets me the most, transitioning. But I don't know, like I've said, I've made the transition so much in my life that the hardest was from freshman to sophomore year. But now I'm kind of getting used to it. I just really have to focus on staying in shape. Like if I'm switching from a libero, because you're doing a little bit less. I mean, you got to get low, you got to read a little, play some good defense, but as an outside, you're just doing a couple more things that you're not necessarily used to. So just staying in shape is definitely important.
100%. Sorry, Jay.
No, I was gonna speak more in terms of like your guys' team and just over the years, what from your experience. You know, Oregon's competed in the Pac-12, always one of the top leagues, has top teams there. And then playing in the NCAA tournament, obviously you get to play against the Big 12, Big 10, SEC schools. What is one thing for you that you notice that separates the top from the other teams, especially in the tournament? Is there something that you've noticed that that stands out over the years?
I would say floor defense is a lot better. I think a lot of teams, I watched your last episode and you were saying how
Respect.
Texas won because they got a good, really good libero. And I think you can agree with that a little bit because you have these really elite attackers and then now you bring in ball control. So I think the higher level that you get, you notice the better passers that you're receiving. You have to serve the ball a little bit tougher. And their floor defense just gets a lot better. So for me as an undersized attacker, in the Nebraska match, I struggled a little bit because they run a 6'2", so they have two right sides that are super tall, great blockers. I struggled because I had that combo with a really, really good floor defense behind me. When we got to the Louisville match, they were a little bit smaller. They ran a 5'1". I was matched up against the setter, and their defense was still really good. But I think when you have a combo of a really, really good block and the really, really good floor defensive team, it gets a lot harder. And I think the higher level you get, that's what you see more.
No, absolutely. Especially, the physicality of the blockers and everything definitely steps up. It's just in the discipline. I think you'll recognize we were speaking to Dana Retke actually 2 weeks ago, and just her, and she's like had some ups and downs from her season, and she's playing on one of the top teams in Italy, and she's like it's just a whole nother like level. The speed and the room for error is like so much smaller. It's not like you see a lot of the same stuff. Like, there's nothing, like, crazy that you haven't seen when you go up to the professional level or from, like, high school to college. It's just, like, the room for error gets smaller and smaller at every level you go up. And so it's always interesting to me to talk to people and, like, ask them, what is it about, like, the elite athletes or the elite teams that separates them from what you've seen? And that's always the biggest thing is, like, as a coach, as a player, it's, like, you're looking for that stuff to pick up on. And it can, like, it's the smallest things always. And so, like you're talking about with Texas, it's like you don't have a whole lot of room for there's areas you got to take advantage if you're going to beat a team like that. And they'll open the door here and there, and you got to make sure you take advantage of those opportunities. If not, like, it's really difficult to play against a team like that. But you being at Oregon, what is your favorite thing about, or not, I guess you're done with Oregon now, but sorry, I don't mean to make you sad or anything, but what was your favorite thing about just the experience of Oregon? What, like, and I'm thinking more from like an athletics perspective, like resources, like one thing that you like just absolutely took the most advantage of that you would say.
I mean, Oregon is, people say Nike University, so the amount of connections that you have through that company and also just the community of Eugene is really special. I think we grew our crowd a lot the better that we got as a volleyball team. But if you were talking volleyball wise, I would say the style of their play is very different than a lot of teams. Like, we run the ball very fast, our ball control is very good. And I think what separated us this year was our offense got a lot better. But yeah, just the amount of resources that you have and the support of the community is very different, I think, than a lot of communities or a lot of universities.
Well, Christian, so one thing that the biggest shock when we went to college. Well, let me rephrase that question. So I think there's a similarity between you stayed 5 years at Oregon, watching Oregon. Like I said, I've watched you guys throughout your entire career and in the tournament. I've always seen that Oregon's coaching staff has always been very, very good. It seems like they know what they're really, really doing, and they develop players really, really well. And we went to Hawaii. It was kind of the same case with us. We had really good coaches and stuff. Obviously, especially more than ever, the transfer portal is wild. There's so many people transferring. It's like, and you hear these absolute horror stories. Guys, girls just telling you stories. And you're like, no way this happened. I remember I was turning to Joe one time. This is like there's like 64 tournaments in this team. And I remember just like looking at, because they always obviously pan to the coaches, show the coaches when they're on television. I'm like, I turned to him. I was like, I wonder how many coaches actually know what they're doing in this situation. I remember saying it. I'm like, obviously you can look calm, you can wear the nice clothes, you can have the calm composure, but I'm wondering, do they actually know what they're doing at all? And like, I can like, was that like when you heard those stories? Are you shocked? And also, what is the biggest shock you learned when you went to college volleyball that you did not expect?
Luckily, I haven't heard too many horror stories. And I think that's because we have such a great staff. Something for me that was shocking in college was just I think the speed at every single level that you get. So from high school to college, college to pro, pro to national team, or about the same. Like the speed really gets a lot different. The speed of the serve, the speed of the attack. So that was a big shock for me in my transition. But like I said, our coaching staff is very talented. Matt Ulmer, he spends hours upon hours. He gets like no sleep at night during season, and he is up watching film. He's just very educated in the game of volleyball, and it's also very different than what I had learned in the past. There's so many different styles around the country, and he brought a new style to my game, which I really appreciated too.
What is this is one thing I'm actually really interested in always, because I love this part of preparation, and just playing volleyball. What does a typical scouting report look like for you guys? Like, what are like the key things that Matt would go through like in a scouting report, and like could you give a little bit of detail about what that looked like for you guys and things that he focused on in a scouting report?
Yeah, so we use volumetrics, and we will practice in the mornings, and then we'll usually have some sort of a film session depending on who we're playing. So when we're watching film, we're always going over the rotations and, you know, their offense in every rotation. We'll then go through specific hitters, specific servers, and that's about it with film. But when he breaks those specific things down, we're looking at tendencies of attackers, whether they're more likely to hit line or cross in certain situations, or if they will use the block more, then they'll want to find areas around the block, different things like that. But or servers, if their serves tend to drop, just a lot of tendencies in a lot of different areas of the game. But then our assistant coach, Taiba, she would send a full scouting report on those things just broken down on a piece of paper. So we go over a lot, and it depends on how much the players really want to take advantage of the resources that we're given.
What is how much of the analysis goes into the opposing setter, and like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so it's mostly the things that we look at with the setter is if they're likely to go with the flow where the pass takes them, if they're likely to set like a quicker tempo, say the pass pushes them forward, are they likely to set the four quickly? Are they going to pick the ball up? So we look at tempo a lot, so we know what to expect with our block. And then we also look at how likely they are to set different hitters in different rotations. So like what's the first priority, second priority. So if say you have a third priority is their right side and I'm the outside blocker, like maybe I can help more with the middle. Just different things like that.
No, I appreciate you going into detail about that. Is it most of that stuff based on statistics, or is it mostly just based on like them watching video and just kind of getting a feel for things? Or do they show like numbers, like this situation, this percentage?
I think a little bit of both. I'll always ask Matt because I think it's harder for undersized people to help block. And so I really like to know, like, what's my role going to be? Are they really likely to set middles on a perfect pass? So then I really need to stay in more, or can I cheat and can I leave a little bit more? So I think that has to do with percentages a lot, but also different matchups and different things. So for example, like I'm a smaller blocker, are they more likely to set the right side with a smaller blocker? Or when our setters front row, are they more likely to set the outside? Different things like that.
Okay. Are you more of a when you're watching film and looking at the scouting report, as libero, you don't need to know everything going on, but you need to know similar stuff. But as the outside hitter, as the main outside hitter, are you kind of a shoot by the feel kind of girl, or are you just kind of like a very, very statistical? This is what I need to know. This, or for me, I've noticed I'm just like, I need to know this information, and then from then on, just play volleyball.
That's how I am too. I
Gotcha.
like to know as an outside, especially as an attacker, what shots in the court are open. Like if I'm in trouble, is the 5 zone more open? Is the drop tip more open? Is the high line more open? So I know what to have in my bag. But I think once you get to a high enough level, teams are really good. And so I think they take what you show a lot of the time. So just being super deceptive. So I don't like to like really watch a ton of film and just break down every little thing. Cause I think the higher level you get, the better the teams are going to adjust to your play. So I really just like to take what's open in the moment.
What other schools were you considering when you first were making the choice coming out of high school?
Yeah, a majority of the schools were recruiting me as a libero. So I was actually planning on going to Stanford for a very long time. And Matt had gotten the head coaching job about when I was making my decision, and he honestly changed my mind. I really loved Oregon, and he was recruiting me as an outside, and that was a really big deal for me because, like I said, I wasn't done hitting, just like I'm not done hitting now. So we're gonna continue that as long as possible. But so you had Stanford. I was also interested in Washington as a libero, Wisconsin as a libero. I love Wisconsin. I love Kelly Sheffield. I think he does an amazing job with that program. And then BYU was also recruiting me as an attacker, and Florida State. So I just think I wasn't done hitting, and Oregon gave me the best opportunity.
So what was that conversation like when he said, all right, you're libero, you're outside hitter, and first year you had to play libero? Did he tell you that when you were recruiting, or was that something you learned?
I think what I wanted was an opportunity to hit. And in most of the universities that were recruiting me as a libero were like, you are not going to hit, you are going to be our libero. And so Matt gave me every opportunity I think that I deserved. For example, like my freshman year, I had Lindsay Vanderweide, we had Taylor Borup, we had Brooke Van Sickle, and then we had Lauren Page too. Those were all 4 outsides. They were veterans, and they were very talented, and I didn't really expect to just go in and go hit outside my first year. So my freshman year, I was like, where am I going to see the court most? Where am I going to make the most impact? And that was libero. And then sophomore year, I think like the way the cards were drawn at Oregon was the best possible situation because I wasn't a very good outside my sophomore year, and we really needed me to play outside. And I was given a ton of grace my sophomore year and so many learning opportunities that made me so much better. That allowed me to make more of an impact as an outside my junior year. So I was really okay with playing libero. I think that was what I had to do in the moment.
If they had you play libero your whole career, well, 2 questions. If they said, yeah, you got to keep playing libero, would you have been annoyed by that? Or you been like, okay.
Hit the portal.
Yeah, hit the portal. Deuces.
It's funny because my sophomore year, when I started to play outside, I was really frustrated because I wasn't very good. And I told Matt, like, I think I'm going to get, like, I'm always the type of player that would rather win a national championship than be a first-team All-American. So I wasn't my first priority, but I was really frustrated at the way I was playing. And I was like, I think I would get just more recognition and be better as a libero. And he was like, we had a conversation. He's like, just wait. You just need to develop. And the amount of times he's reminded me of that conversation since the last 3 years has been really funny because, like I said, I've been given incredible opportunities and I've gotten really incredible recognition because of the team I've had and staff. So it's been a heck of a ride.
So like for those teams that said, my brother is in the same situation. He got, as I would say, a lot of disrespect from colleges saying, wanting to play libero, saying you can't play setter and whatnot, has a very successful career, such as yourself. So my question to you is, did you ever use as like as fuel to the fire, or like okay, I see how it's gonna be, like it's kind of like a slight kind of thing?
Yeah, because there were so many coaches that were like, you're not going to be good enough to be an outside in college, and I would use that every single day. I think I always use that as fuel. For example, I love to play in front of a big away crowd. That's my favorite thing ever because you're getting booed and you have a whole crowd cheering against you, and the best thing ever is having them all shut up by doing something really good. So I think I am definitely a type of player to use that fire to my advantage, and just any negativity that comes my way, I really try to use it as motivation.
We always try and tell our fans, like, wherever we play, we love you guys, but there's something about playing on the road and a big game away. And, you know, especially in college, American college, you got people just heckling you and going crazy. So what is that you could share? What is the craziest thing or the worst thing someone's ever said to you, heckling wise?
I had a rough freshman week or two, and I'm not going to go into really big detail, but we were in the Sweet 16 my freshman year at Minnesota. They were the number 2. We were the 15. And we won that match. But during that match, I was serving, and the student section's right behind me. And they somehow figured out every single thing about that week. And I just hear them in my head serving the whole time.
God.
So that was really fun. But yeah, I mean, just everything about a away crowd, it's so fun. And honestly, if you're home too, like I've had very special moments. We swept Stanford this season, the only time we played them, and we had our best crowd that game. And I remember just sitting on our bench during I think after the second set, and I just hear like all these cheering and all these Eugene fans and just coming to support Oregon volleyball, which we haven't necessarily had in the past. And I just remember like embracing every single moment of it. So I love playing in our home crowds, but away ones are also very fun.
Speaking of playing at home, is your guys, I'll be honest, watching you guys play, like from the angle they have you guys at the court, the floor, man. The floor, I'm like, what is that? It like took me a little while to realize that's actually like a forest. I was like, what is that? Like, is it cooler when you're actually on the floor, or is it just still like a blob of mess kind of thing? Love the idea,
That's
though.
like that's like an ongoing joke on our team because we received a ton of recognition for like very good plays. We had very scrappy defense. Really, we were just an all around really good team. So NCAA would post a lot of clips, and we were just like, oh, here come the floor comments every single time because they're like, that floor is awful. And I'm like, can we just for once recognize how good this volleyball is instead of hating on the floor? But I agree. Like, I've had a lot of family members say like, oh, that floor is really distracting. And I think our camera work doesn't necessarily do it justice sometimes either.
Yeah.
But I don't ever notice it when I play. So no complaints from my end.
Oregon needs to get on the Terraflex.
Yeah, why did you guys have the facilities for that? Like, how come you guys don't do Terraflex?
Yeah. I'd asked Matt about that this year, and he said, I'm going to make some enemies amongst the Matthew Knight Arena staff. They're going to have to roll it and unroll it all the time for our basketball because we share the basketball court.
Right.
So it's that, and then we also spent so much money on that floor like 5 years ago. So maybe in time, but
I need to bring in this heartbreak again. I want to kind of bring in this Louisville game. We watched it literally right behind where this computer is. We were screaming.
We had some people over watching it.
We were screaming, and you probably don't want to hear that. I'm sorry.
No.
My question to you, right, is okay, obviously you're like, man, we had a great, you had a great season. You had a great tournament
season.
run and everything like that. Is it like, do you kind of go in with a mindset of like, okay, a lot of people didn't have us going this far. I think we had you going that far. We had a bracket challenge. I'm pretty sure we had you going that far, except
One
for
of us.
One of us did. There's four of us. I'm just gonna go ahead since I'm talking and say it was me. I had you going that far. Was it kind of like man, like how was it like as soon as you ended? You're like, obviously, I saw you in tears as you should be, because your
Nice, Gage.
I'm just saying, your season's over, career's over at Oregon. You're done with college. Is it kind of right away you realize, wow, this was a special group, I'm so happy? Or was it kind of like one of those things where like, I can't talk for a while? And secondly, was it horrible hearing say, hey, you had a great season, you had a great game, all this other stuff, knowing you were right there, and at the end of the day, unfortunately, it didn't go your way? Because for me,
Yeah.
I can't stand like when like if we didn't win or whatnot, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I need like
Yeah.
at least a day or two.
Normally I'm the type of player to take a couple-hour break from everyone else and just kind of like reflect on the match. And then after those 2 hours, I'm like, it's over. What can you do? I would say during that Elite Eight match, I was fully confident in moments saying, wow, we are about to go to the Final Four. Like,
That's
when we had match point and our freshman outside, who was a third-team All-American, who was National Freshman of the Year, she is absolutely phenomenal. When she had the opportunity to score, I'm not saying it's her fault at all.
Put her on the
but I was
spot.
fully
Put her on the
confident
spot.
that she would get that kill because she has like all of the season. But then like I had missed my serve earlier in that set, and like I think there was just a couple things that we could have taken advantage of that we didn't. But I was fully confident that truthfully, I thought that we could beat anyone in the country. I'm gonna say that Texas was the best team in the country, but they're beatable. So I thought we could have beaten anyone.
Agreed.
I think if I'm gonna put Texas aside, I think we are just as good, if not better, than anyone. Like I truthfully think we're just as good, if not a little bit. Like I think we could have won the Louisville match, but their defense was phenomenal in the end of the fourth and the fifth set, and they made some ridiculous plays. So at the end of the day, those are the teams that are gonna win. But after the match, in the fifth set, I think everyone knew that Louisville was going to win that after the first half. And we were just fighting every step of the way. But I think it was really hard because we could have won. Like, we had the opportunity to win, and we didn't. But at the end of the day, in the locker room, I told my team I would rather lose in the Elite Eight with that group than to make it to the Final Four with any other team. So it was just bittersweet for sure. Definitely things that we could have done better, but at the end of the day, we had the best record, Pac-12 record of any Oregon team. We had the longest winning streak of any Oregon team. So there's just so much that you can take away from the season.
That's true. In your freshman, she had phenomenal, just a little stretch there where she, obviously, and that happens to everyone, but she had a phenomenal year, phenomenal tournament.
Yeah,
phenomenal match.
ridiculous.
Are you guys forced to wear arm sleeves, by the way? Sorry, this is I noticed this. I remember watching.
We're just bringing
like,
petty stuff now. Now we're very.
No. I was watching the match. I'm like, they're all wearing arm sleeves, but I don't know. Maybe Nike says it, or just a team thing. Because
Girls
Texas,
prefer long.
They all
long
tape their
sleeves.
fingers.
Oh, that's true. Texas does do that.
Like,
My brother can be a Texas hater sometimes.
No,
Yes.
Texas hater.
You don't love him. You definitely don't love him. That's for sure. Sorry, bro. Continue with your answer though.
The arm sleeves, yes, we are forced to wear the arm sleeves. I know there's a couple teams that have the sleeveless jerseys and they have the option to wear the arm sleeves or not, but yeah, we have very strict or being Oregon, our equipment manager is on top of everything with how we're looking. So that's really great because we're always looking pretty good, and at least in my opinion. But also you got to be on top of everything.
So what are some of those rules?
I have really weak ankles. I've sprained them 8 times, and so I have to wear ankle braces. And there's a brand, it wasn't a Nike brand, but it had white at the top. It had the logo or something. And our equipment manager ran out and he's like, "Brooke, can I Sharpie this in?" And I was like, sure thing. So can't have any, not even a little logo showing or anything that's not Nike. We have a left arm sleeve and a right arm sleeve, and the swoosh faces different directions. So we got to make sure that's perfect. We can't wear anything at practice. We can't wear any colored hairbands or no ribbons, no bows, no nothing, which I'm fine with, but it's just little things. It's funny.
So you're telling me you got middles in the front row wearing passing sleeves. Is that an actual rule?
They're arm sleeves. They're not.
Well, they're for passing. They're for, are they not? Are they for passing or are they arm sleeves? Is there a difference?
It's like middles who wear knee pads.
I think you go
What are you doing?
anywhere and you say I like to wear the sleeves just for diving. But I think
100%.
for us, it's oh no, this is for the look. This is your uniform.
Okay. I spoke too soon. I apologize.
Nice.
So we talked about the differences. Overseas, all girls teams will wear. Well, we said this is a couple episodes back. We talked about for women's in college, everyone has long. Well, 99% of the teams have long sleeves. 1% has cutoffs with sleeves. Such as Oregon. And then for men's, same thing, pretty much all cut off. But when you go overseas, all men's have normal length jerseys, but all women have cutoffs. So do you prefer in cutoffs or do you prefer long sleeves?
I'm gonna tell you, I probably don't have a preference because it's Mimi Collier, our freshman, she was like, "No, I can't play in the long sleeves. I don't have mobility." I'm like, "Mimi, it's the exact same. You just don't have this little skin of shoulders." But I think there's people that prefer the cutoffs, but me, I don't know, it feels the exact same. But I do like the options of not having to wear the sleeves and getting to, but at the same time we have to wear them. So there's not much of a difference.
At Oregon, what's your opinion for the dopest color combo?
Ooh. The floor.
I'll say my I'll say my preference in the color combo, and then I'll say what I like to wear the best. My favorite jersey was the long sleeve yellow. We always wear the green spandex with yellow and green, but long sleeve yellow. And then a lot of people our white, I believe, our white cutoff, the white to green sublimated.
So those are pretty slick. So what do you guys do with all your gear now? You got to be selling it.
Oh my gosh.
You got to sell that.
I just sold all of my jerseys, so that was fun. And then I am currently in the midst of selling all of my Oregon gear. We have a ping pong table in my house in Arizona, and it is covered. It is covered from corner to corner with Oregon gear. So I'm selling all the jackets, and it's a lot of work, but I will tell you that people pay well for player issued gear. I will.
Oh yeah, especially for a player as caliber as yourself. Come on now. Probably all liberos just showing love, like you said, giving people hope. But so
After my brother won the national championship, what'd you sell yours for?
we ought to get. Well, basically, I don't know if you know anything about Hawaii men's or women's volleyball, but it is wild out there, like bananas.
I played at Hawaii.
Oh, so wait, do we heckle you? We probably heckled you then.
I think you played.
Probably.
I was there still.
We heckle a lot.
Are we the same age?
What year were you born?
97. We're
90. I'm 98.
2000. But I 99 2000 group.
Well, you're fifth year. So, wait, no, yeah.
Which
I'm
year
a
did you go?
Older.
Your freshman year?
What year?
What year?
Mm-hmm.
This was just my 5th year of college.
Oh, you just wait, but when did you go to Hawaii?
Yeah, when did you go to Hawaii?
Oh, my 2018 of fall.
Oh, we were
we both were there.
Yeah, that was my sophomore year. Then yes, we for sure.
I remember
heckled
Oregon
you.
coming one of my last years.
You guys, yeah. But what I was saying was after we won the national championship, I was wearing a certain jersey. I could tell a lot of people wanted it. What we did afterwards is we dropped our Venmos after we graduated. We dropped our Venmos, and then we're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go and put out if you want my jersey, here's a bid. One jersey. I'm not trying to brag, but I'm just trying to tell you how
No.
crazy it
It's
is.
awesome.
One jersey, $1,200, I think.
Wow.
And I did,
Yeah.
and I bet you, I bet you are making a lot more than that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying. And you should, and you get that money for sure. But are there stuff that you don't even like touch, like that, like gear that you're like, oh, I get like 7 sweatpants. Like I'm not gonna touch 3 of these ever in my life. Are there gear like that?
Yeah.
That's sick. All right, I'm gonna ask a heavy question here, hard hitting. This is a solve world hunger kind of esque question.
Wow. Okay.
You watched our last episode. You watched our last episode. You said one of our debates. We debate a lot of men's and women's volleyball. One of our debates. But the question that I think you're thinking of is not. I'll ask that next. The question that I was thinking of first is the biggest problem that I saw with there's a pro league starting for women. And we want it to be successful, super successful. We want nothing but the best for it. But the problem is, and you can attest this more than we can, or maybe deny it, is that a lot of girls and women don't watch sports a lot of time. A lot of them don't watch girls volleyball unless it's for a college or whatnot. So once they go to the pro level, it's, they don't really pay attention unless they're on the national team. And even then, they don't even know, to be honest. So my biggest thing was, do you think that when the league starts, do you think that is going to be a struggle point, or do you think that's going to be something that's going to be not really a big problem?
So, 2 things. I for my master's program, I created a podcast. I did 10 interviews with a bunch of national team players and some coaches.
You got to plug it.
Pro
You gotta
Volley.
plug. There we are. Sorry.
Pro
Sorry.
Volley
Yeah,
USA. But I haven't been very active with it since the last, I don't know, few months. But anyway, like through my interviews, I learned a lot, and basically I was kind of advocating for just media coverage and equity within women's professional volleyball. And it's kind of just getting that message across the United States, because most people, like, it's really funny. I'll walk around with my Oregon backpack and people will come up to me and like, oh, do you play for Oregon? I'm like, oh, I did. Like, I'm looking to play like pro now. We're looking at different things, and they'll be like, oh, there's professional volleyball. I'm like, yes, there is. But people don't know that because there's not coverage on really big brands. Like, for example, I think you need support from the ESPNs, the different sports networks that we don't get that coverage from, because I think we've proved that in the past when you're getting that coverage of a certain match. I think Texas played on ESPN, like apart from the tournament. I think Texas, I think Louisville, Kentucky, there were a couple matches and they got a ton of views. And I think just from the past, we've proved that we'll get that support. So hopefully, like, big brands like that will continue to advocate for women's professional volleyball the bigger it gets. And I think, like, that's the first step. I think you need that in order for it to be successful, or else people just aren't going to know when it's on, like, know that it's going to be a thing. You need that advertising to say that
Or
in order for it to be
consistency.
successful.
Like
Yeah,
if
exactly.
they know every single Tuesday or every single Friday, it's like there's a women's volleyball game like that.
Right.
That's where it's the same thing with social media. It's like when there's consistency, then they can expect that, and that's how you build an audience. When it's just random, it's difficult to
No one.
And
It's on.
and you hit the nail right on the how you say that?
Nail in the coffin.
Nail on
The
the
head?
coffin. There.
Nail on the
Thank
head?
you. There we are.
Oh.
Bingo. It's right there. Thank you very much. Is you named 3 of the top teams with the best social media. 100%. The marketing has to be different. It has to be good, and it has to be just very, very creative. You know what I mean? And you see a lot of the like. There's baseball teams called the Savannah Bananas. They're like the dancing baseball team. I don't know if you see them on TikTok.
No, they're
Very
absolutely
smart.
great.
And they started out so like I was like watching their story and they did different stuff and they got really creative. They tried to do what everyone else does. Did not work. They had to do really, really creative. And I think, like you said, volleyball is a great sport. Women's volleyball is a great sport. There's a following. People have to know. People have to care about it. If you don't give them a reason to care, they're not going to watch it at the end of the day because they don't care. Once you get after Oregon or Nebraska, they're like Hawaii. Like, I don't really care. I just support this school. I think getting people invested in teams is the biggest thing that you're going to have to run into. So thank you for answering that question. Second question here from our last episode. Micah, our third host. Let's have a moment of silence for him. Didn't make it to this podcast. Thank you. He asked me. He said, Gage, if you were to play women's volleyball, could you be one of the best players in the world? I said, yes, I could. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. The reason I say that is I'm not saying I could, out of all liberos in the world, I would be the best women's volleyball player. The reason I said that is because good height, extremely physical, and I just try and send it as much as possible. And I know you're probably not familiar with my game, and I'm not saying I'm some godly player or whatnot, but that's just that was my opinion on that. Now, for the question for you is, is there something that I'm not thinking of that in the women's game do you think that men would struggle with when they transition back to women, or if they were to play in the women's game, that they would struggle with?
So I'll start off by saying that I agree with you. You would be one of the most elite women's volleyball players if you were to play.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Because,
Thank you, bro.
well, just the physicality, like if you have ball control, which you do, like you're a libero, like and then you add like the hitting aspect and the physicality of a men's player compared to a woman's, like it's just not comparable. That's why they're separate sports. But I will also say that men's and women's volleyball is very, very different. And I think they play the game very different because of that physicality aspect. For example, like you see the women's game a lot more defensive. Like there's a lot longer rallies because of I'm not going to say like the lack of physicality, but I think women's focus a lot on defense, and like men are ripping topspin serves, and it's everything's like very defensive, but at the same time, like you're playing the game differently because of the amount of physicality that the men's have. Like I've played against men and I've played with men a lot of my career, and like the way that they're taught to like defend because of how fast the ball is going, like is different than a woman. So I just think there's really small nuances that you would have to adjust to, but at the same time, like the physicality, there's a big gap.
Brooke,
I always like to play devil's advocate. I got cut in here. I always like to play devil's advocate, especially when it's an argument like that. Micah and Gage love to bring up just sometimes ridiculous stuff. But I'll say too, for Gage, like there's definitely a lot of players out there on the men's side that I wouldn't agree with. But for Gage, I didn't say this last week, he's a libero, but he hits the ball. He's the heart on our team here professionally at Hawaii, and we had some really hard hit. He hits the ball harder than any guy on our team, and he like has. And so that's why, in that situation, I don't think it's just like any men's player can be the best women's player.
Right.
But, and I don't want it to sound like that we were saying that. But we're saying like for Gage, and a lot of people probably aren't familiar with Gage and seen him hit, to be honest. But that's why even Micah, and Micah's always very like, keeps it like 100. And he agreed too, just like the physicality. But we're not just saying like every men's player, because I don't think that's the case either.
Thank you, Joe. Brooke, I have a personal question for you. What's it like?
Okay, wait, really quick. Really
quick.
Go for it. Men's players also, I will not give you guys credit for being able to pass a float serve because you don't see it often.
100%.
So
100%.
So
100%.
if you can pass the float serve, because women, especially with the yellow and blue balls, the FIVB ones, they are nasty. Like going from a college serve with the blue and white molten balls to the FIVB ones with national team, the previous Olympic gold medal team, like that was ridiculously hard. And so I will say, like, a men player will have to be able to pass a float serve. But yeah,
have you seen
go ahead.
Have you seen how most men's teams stand on the 10-foot line and
just to
The
chuck
hands,
it with.
yeah.
Oh yeah, they just
That's
chuck
the
it.
A all day, baby. It ain't even a set. It's not even a set.
just
It's a
chuck
slap.
them.
Let me tell you
Chuck
that.
them.
And you're right.
It's a
Women's
chuck.
players, way more technically better, which allows. I think that in terms of technique comes into play way more with float serves than it does come with the spin serves. Spin serve is like, I mean, at this point when you're facing top players, you're playing defense up there, trying to pop the ball at the 10-foot line when guys are ripping 80+ mile an hour jump serve, even 70 and higher mile an hour
If
jump
you
serves.
on good float serves, I will say if you like on the men's side, especially here like professionally, they teach you like half the serves. All you're trying to do is pass the ball on the 10-foot, the 3-meter or 10-foot line, and you just try to play it, and then you put it high on and let guys just go blast off the top of the hands, and that's like how they play, either over the top of the block, some of the guys, or high off the hands. And so with good float serves, that's what you'd have to do because you just play a little bit off the net and just get a high ball
So
or a medium tempo.
my personal question to you, Brooke.
Mhm.
Libero to ex-libero, expert defender. What's it like in like 40, 50 digs a game? Because I see that number, and that is outrageous to me. The most digs I've ever gotten a match. I'm like, I think I'm a good defender. I think I'm pretty decent. It's like 17. I see they're like, yeah, 30 digs in 2 sets. I'm like, what? Like, what do you? What's
Okay.
like, how? How do you? It's shocking. It's mind blowing to me.
That's a little high. That's a little high. So as a freshman libero, which is still my career because I never played libero again, I had 35 digs in a 5-set match, and like that's pretty good. I don't know if I've ever. I'm sure it's happened, but since I've been in college, I haven't seen a statistic that was 40+ digs. But you're gonna get twice as many digs as a women's player because the balls aren't coming as fast. But I don't know. I love defense. I think that's one of my favorite skills. Defense and attacking. Like those are my 2 favorite things. And so I've always been known for my defense and the intensity and just getting balls off the floor is super fun.
Oh yeah.
The other thing is in America, they consider free ball, like when you take free balls, that's considered a dig in the U.S.
Love that.
And
That's true.
I was telling some Europeans.
Wait,
that
what
they
do you
just-
mean? What do you mean?
Like when free balls get sent over the net, like jumped and set over or anything like that, that counts as a dig statistic. At least on the men's side, it does.
Oh, no, I don't think it does for women.
Okay, because it definitely counts on the men's side. Pretty sure.
Down balls do. Down balls do.
Tips. Dude, my senior year, my right side, Radoslav Parapunov, he was a national player of the year that year. Bulgarian, definitely not American. He would just be like, dude, because they would just try and tip at him every time. And he would give me, he started this like social media thing as well around the Hawaiian Island. Hashtag more digs than Gage. And as obviously it's been 4 years since you played libero, so maybe you don't. But I would get so like everyone would give me crap if he dug more balls because they just try and put every ball to him. It's just something that just as a libero. Also as a libero, like again, this is a little.
You can
while
call
ago.
me a libero. It's okay. I'm both an outside and
so-
libero. I'm a
Do you think you're a libero playing? I always said when I played outside hitter, I was like, I'm a libero playing outside hitter. I'm not an outside hitter playing libero. What do you think you are?
I think I'm an undersized outside who has to increase my physicality a little bit, but I consider myself an outside now. I would consider myself a libero playing outside my sophomore year because I was just very ball control, very like shot worthy, but now I have like good power. I jump well and I have good ball control. So I feel like I'm an outside now.
My question I was leading to was the biggest skill. People like liberos ask me, hey, what's the biggest skill I can learn as libero? What's the most important skill? I'm like, bro, the number one thing is you gotta learn how to entertain yourself, especially during practice back there. Because let me tell you, I literally just got back from a practice where I passed an hour straight of free balls and 90 minutes straight of serve receive. I'm telling you, you have to all right, maybe I take it a little too far sometimes. I'll admit that. I'll be the first one to admit that. To the point where it's distracting the rest of the team. Okay, yeah, all right, I get that. But for me, I'm like, you have to, because there's so many liberos out there who don't love playing libero. I love playing libero.
Yeah.
But 90% of them hate it. I'm like, why? Like, just learn to entertain yourself and love what you do. But I don't know. People see it as a curse and jail time, basically.
I won't say I hate playing libero because I still love it, but I like outside more just because I get to do more skills. But I've definitely, because normally now I'm libero for USA, and so when I'm at USA, there's definitely times where you're just passing free ball after free ball after free ball. And we do a drill called Blitz the Bro, and it's at least like an hour-long drill where every single serve comes to you. And so like if you are not passing good balls in this drill, like you're ruining the drill. So like the amount of focus that it takes to just pass perfect serve receive float balls, like especially like I was saying with the FIVB balls and the national team, like very elite servers, like you have to be very, very focused with the lack of reps that you're getting. So I definitely agree with that.
As a libero, again, like I feel like we just relate. I don't know. There's something. But the thing is in those drills, those can be the worst. Because if you mess up in those drills once, God forbid, twice in a row, it just feels like the gym just gets dark, and there's just like a light, a strobe light just on you, and you're just there, and you're like, oh my God. I try when I mess up too much, and my brother can test this. I try not to look at anyone in the face. I just like look at the ground. I'm like, I hate myself right now. But like, it's the worst. Messing those up as libero because it's your job. As an outside hitter must be nice, you know. Maybe you don't pass so well, you can get a kill. But have you ever gotten a kill as libero?
Well, okay, I'm sure I have, but in the Sweet 16 match, I got a kill from a dig to win the fourth set. So like that wasn't a libero, but I felt like a libero in that moment, you know. But I think I've actually like free ball killed or set a ball over the net and gotten a kill. A little like tricky dump, you know. But that was a long time ago.
So, yeah, that was a long time ago. I got you. So what would you say is your favorite? This is the last question about college, and I have one or two more about pro. But what would you say your favorite play is from? Because you guys get a lot of – it's always – I've noticed a lot – well, obviously maybe. Hate to bring it back to the floor again, but it's always the floor. I know for sure it sticks in your mind that it's Oregon. But you guys get a lot of media coverage in terms of there's always a rally going on. And when you guys, especially at home, there's always a rally going on. And you guys always get posted on NCAA volleyball, as you should. Is there a specific play moment in your Oregon career that you're like, all right, this was the sickest? Just kind of take it in. Like, this is the sickest thing I've ever done here.
I would say, like, play what specific plays. I have gotten like a couple off the block really good that like flies into the stands or something, and I hustle and get those. There's like a couple I can think of. There was one during, I think there was the Utah match at Utah, my official senior year, and I had like ran into it, shanked off of our right back, and it like flew into like the wall basically, and I dove into the wall and like crushed my ribs against the wall. So I can specifically remember that one for sure. But definitely just the hustle plays are my favorite. Attacking wise and as a hitter, I love hitting rips inside like 32 balls, and just because all of my momentum goes into it and I can normally beat the block. But yeah, those two.
Got you. So as a physical, as you stated, undersized hitter, what do you do in terms of like working out, in terms of training to make sure you're maximizing your abilities?
Our strength coach is really, really talented. He's really well known, honestly, around the world. He's done like keynote speeches and he's written like 5 books. So he's incredible. And he definitely got me in really great shape to be really explosive and increase my vertical. I would say, because I was a hitter in high school and in club volleyball, and I touched 10-1 in high school. But then my vertical decreased a ton as a freshman libero. I would say I was probably touching around like 9-9 before at this end of my freshman year when I was starting to train hitting again. And we got that all the way up to like 10-3, 10-4 by the time I was done. So he just does a lot of explosive things, just a lot of weight training. I push myself super hard in the weight room. I'm proudly like at the top strength group on my team just because I think it's really important for me to like push myself in the weight room, but I also eat super well most of the time. And I try to get like my body in the best shape possible. But yeah.
So do you do more as a libero? I like to do a lot more plyometrics, explosive work. I did a lot, especially last year. I did a lot of medicine ball stuff, explosiveness. Obviously, the movements are different. Or are you doing a lot more heavy lifting in the weight room?
We do both. I think we alternate like day to day. We do a lot of like agility things 2 or 3 times a week, and then the other days we're doing weight training. And it doesn't, on our team we actually all have the same weight plan, which is, I know, unlike a lot of trainers nowadays, but we all lift, we don't lift the same, but we have the same exercises that we're doing.
Got you. I just want to kind of take a second here to give a shout out to our sponsors, allvolleyball.com. Use a promo code OOS, all capital, OOS. The best thing you can give a volleyball lover is more volleyball. And that's what we do here at System, and that's what I do at allvolleyball.com. Again, all capitals, OOS, for 20% off. Is there something, so one thing that I kind of, as you said, you're packing everything out for pro season. One thing that I like to kind of ask people, and this is your first year, but is there something that you're like, okay, I need this wherever I go in the world, wherever I end up, whether it's Turkey, Italy, this is the number one thing. And you can't say like socks or something. People like, I've had people be like, my phone. I was like, no, duh. Like of course, like, yeah, of course. My passport. Yeah, that usually works out if you have that. But is there something like unique?
I'm very easygoing for the most part, and I used to be really picky when it comes to food, but like the last 5 or 6 years, I've been trying to expose my palate to more things and more cultures, and so I'm not very picky anymore either. I know like some people, there's a girl, Lindsay Vanderweide, on my team whose favorite food was like hot Cheetos, and they don't have that overseas. And so like her family would pack up boxes of hot Cheetos and send them to her, and that was her favorite thing ever. So I wouldn't have anything like that, but no, I really can't think of anything, but I'm sure I will once I get there, and I'll figure something out.
2 things of that. We'll interview you when you're towards the end of your season, and then we'll ask you, and then we'll get back to that question. 2 things. Last question we have for you, then we'll let you go here. Is there something that the second biggest thing is that overseas people, I'm sure you've heard from a lot of people already, say you need kind of something outside the court to kind of keep your mind occupied because you can't get lonely, right? Practice isn't good. Different country, foreign country. Maybe you're the only foreigner on your team. Can't get lonely, can't get hard. Is there something that you like? Is there an outlet that you like to do outside of volleyball that kind of helps you decompress?
Yeah, there's a couple things. Love reading. I've become like a bookworm over the past couple years. I love to cook, and so especially going to a different country, whether it's Italy or Turkey, like I'll probably adapt some cuisine habits and try some new things cooking. I love music. I play the piano. It's probably going to be hard to play the piano overseas, but maybe I'll buy a keyboard or something. But and then I love experiencing new cultures. I've actually been to Italy. I've never been to Turkey, so just going out and exploring a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been to Turkey, and it is super sick. It's very chaotic. Just a heads up.
Italy's awesome, too.
Italy's awesome, sick.
If you're near, maybe she'll be, because we go to Italy at the end of January for European Cup.
It's true.
Quarters.
It's true. We'll be in Italy in a month from now playing a very big game.
Near there.
And if you're near there, we expect
What
you to
city?
Be there. Modena.
We're playing at Modena.
Hour and a half out. Hour and a half
about
outside
an hour.
Milano.
Milan.
I am around. If I were to go, I'd probably be close to Milan.
Ooh, wow. So you'll be there. Thank you so much. Thank you. With that being said, we wish you the best of luck. We'll stay in touch. Good luck with everything pro season. We'll keep our eyes on you. And like you said, towards the end of the season, we're going to ask you that question again. Just remember, if you can't handle the heat, goddamn kitchen. There's been another episode presented by IYCHTH.